Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. As promised in our daily financial news on Wednesday, we speak with the one and only and legendary investor, Anna Kelly. How you doing, Anna?
I'm doing great today. So good to be with you every Wednesday. It's a highlight of my day.
Oh, it's a highlight of my week. And folks, if you don't know already, Anna Kelly has been with us for over a year. There's an entire playlist with over 100 hours of us talking about various topics. So do yourself a favor, go to that playlist and just enjoy. They've been a lot of fun. So thank you very much, Anna.
You're welcome.
So I think as landlords, we have to talk about at least to me, was a surprising twist yesterday afternoon. So let me ask you first. Did you think after the initial eviction moratorium was left to expire, did you expect them to do a new one, or did you kind of see this coming?
I expected that they would try to find any way they could to do it. But since the Supreme Court came out recently and said CDC doesn't really have the authority to do that, I thought maybe their hands were tied and this might be the end. But if they want to do something, they'll find a way. So the question is, what they've said they're going to do is who's going to fight it first to go to the Supreme Court that says you're breaking the rules?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was, actually, when this came out, I did another expert. I have the lumberjack landlord, and I was definitely disappointed and frustrated because I was of the opinion the Supreme Court, the 9 justices, when they rule or have an opinion, it's followed. And actually a follower of this channel told me this is not the first time a sitting president went against the Supreme Court. Did you know that Andrew Jackson actually did that back? He was the 7th president, if you don't happen to remember. He went against the Supreme Court in 1830 or something.
I did not know that. No, yes. I'm not the history buff in the family, so I definitely didn't know that.
I didn't either. I had to look it up. I'm like, is this true? Basically, there was a part of our history or something they now call the Trial of Tears.
Yes.
Again, look it up. It's not a great part of our history. But basically, Andrew Jackson, who was the sitting president, said, my constituents, my party wants this. I am going to ignore the Supreme Court. Wow. That's essentially what happened yesterday.
Yes.
And what came out of this is basically the Supreme Court flexed their muscle and now has the ability as a federal organization or whatever to basically when they rule, it's countrywide. And there's going to be a price to pay for this, right? Coming out of this. So
it's so interesting, Michael, because when I saw right before the CDC extended the eviction moratorium or Biden did, right? These federal agencies came in and said, oh, Federal Housing Administration, if you are in a house, a single family house that's backed by this federal mortgage, you can't be evicted. And I thought, well, that's interesting because it's a different organization than the CDC. And the Supreme Court ruling was on the CDC. Exactly. So I thought when I saw that was it. I'm like, oh, well,
that's a little twist. Yeah.
Might be, in for a little bit longer. But what happened was the very next day when Biden said he was not going to extend the eviction moratorium, all of those in his party screamed, Wolf, how can you not do this? You must not care about all these people that are going to be evicted. And it was like 2 or 3 days later, suddenly they've come up with something. So he's, replying to what his constituents are asking for in his party. And they're trying to find a way to do it and see if by the time it goes through the legal stuff, it's already expired. That's my thought.
Oh,
it surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, it surprised me. I'm very disappointed. But again, something I remember growing up is my father said, in America, you can do anything you want as long as you're willing to suffer the consequences. That always stuck with me, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, interesting, right? Because again, usually consequences could be good, bad, right? We have rule of law. But here's the deal. I truly believe that Biden basically wilted to a set of constituents who were holding their breath, right? They were just holding their breath, turning blue. And now he's going to suffer the consequences. And there are going to be many. There are going to be consequences for this administration, but there are also going to be issues for tenants, landlords, and investors. So I was disappointed yesterday, but today, frankly, as someone who's looking to grow their portfolio, I got to tell you, I'm kind of excited, and I'm going to be buying a lot more from frustrated landlords. So
yes,
where do you want to go from here?
Yeah, so much. What's so disappointing to me, and again, for those that haven't listened to us very long, like we don't come from money. We are compassionate people.
Yes.
I handled my tenants extremely compassionately, and there are very few that we evicted, and those that we did evict, that we were granted eviction, it's because they were doing drugs and lots of other bad things they shouldn't have been doing, not just because they didn't pay. Right. But you can be a compassionate person and still say something doesn't make sense when there are, I don't remember the number, Michael. I just remember it was a lot. I think it's maybe $2 billion worth of money available to tenants for rent assistance, and they've taken very little of it. Maybe it's 200 million. I can't remember.
No, I actually, again, I read this entire order, right? These 19 pages. Again, I print paper, right? I'm an old person, but I marked it all up. It's 43 billion.
3 million, even more than I thought. I knew it was a lot. And here's the thing, if you know that the programs are already there to help the people and they're not using the programs, then make sure the programs get to the people, but don't tell them you still don't have to pay. And now the landlords are going to lose their property, because this is not just a few months now. This is like going into a year and a half that they're just expecting landlords to bear it. And the forbearances haven't been extended that I know of, the mortgage forbearances. So, I feel for so many of those mom and pop landlords, the vast majority of landlords in this country own less than 10 units. And so they're really mom and pop, and they may go bankrupt over this. So I feel so badly for them because they couldn't see this coming. Yes, I hope that when they have to sell, I can get a good deal on a property. But I just don't feel great about it, because the government is forcing not only people to become people who are used to living off the government, which makes me angry, right? And granted, I've been the beneficiary of WIC and food stamps as a child. Those programs have a place. But when people are given unemployment, huge numbers in unemployment, that there's a crisis that people can't get employees, and we're given hundreds, thousands of dollars now by the government, everybody, even me who doesn't need it, deposits put in my bank account, and there's rent assistance. The money is there to help people. So why bankrupt the poor landlords that are stuck not being able to get people out? That's what's so frustrating to me.
Yeah, it is frustrating on all kinds of level. And again, I think there's going to be consequences for the administration. I think they're going to lose the midterm elections in a landslide, because people are going to remember this, and anybody running against them is just going to point at the people holding their breath, say, see, they're all like that. They, free, give free, give free, give free. And, you've got power for another, 15 months or so. So it's,
and it impacts the housing market too, because now you've got people that, can't get people out no matter what they do. They can't sell their properties easily to people that are going to be, now have to deal with getting tenants out. I see a lot of properties that investors, and I've actually had a coaching student have the same thing happen, were nervous to buy the property because they were tenants that hadn't paid and they knew they were inheriting someone else's property. So now these landlords have to sell really cheap, and you have to have the wherewithal as an investor to go, I'm going to buy a rental property, even though now I know I'm inheriting this problem and I might not be paid for a year. Yeah.
No, that's exactly where we are, right? So this notion of affordable housing, both of us come from nothing, and it's only going to get much worse. The number of affordable rental units I found this morning was 43 million homes owned by mom and pop landlords. That's going to go down substantially, right? They're going to eventually kick them out or sell at a discount. They're going to go owner occ in this hot market. Rents are going to go up. I'm going to tighten my criteria for yes answers with tenants. Down payments are going to go up, or deposits, are going to go up. This is not going to end well for lots of parties.
Right. And the trickle down economics of this, the other thing that's really sad, right? Because mom and pop landlords are not usually very, very wealthy people. They have people that have bought one rental at a time, just like you talk about. They've taken everything they had and they have one or two properties. And then when those lose, they're stuck, just like the people that are in their apartments, right? But the people that are going to suffer are going to be those who are the renters, because the only way for us to now mitigate risk when our contracts now mean nothing, and the government can come in and say, I don't care that your contract says this, we're not letting you get these people out, The only way to mitigate that is to pay much less for houses, so housing prices come down, and to raise rents significantly, because I have to raise rents enough now to cover my expenses, plus cover a larger vacancy than the typical, 5% people want to plug into their numbers, and longer turnover periods. So rents are going to go up. The affordable housing crisis, which is in certain areas, right? For those that are hurt the most right now, there probably is an affordability crisis. When we talk about rental property size homes, not the average home that homeowners buy. But they're the ones that are going to continue to have worse of a problem. And the government's really creating it. And that's bad.
No question. Again, the landlords that are going through this now, in the grand scheme of investing, it's going to be a moment in time. It was certainly uncomfortable. If you survive this, which again, some will go bankrupt and some will sell. Rents are going to go up. You're going to tighten your box less. You're going to keep vacancies longer. It just has to happen. But again, go ahead.
Sorry. The other way that this kind of hurts those tenants too, those that are hurting now, is that it makes it harder for landlords to buy properties in area with a below average income tenants, right? So I want to be able to serve those that are below average income. I want to be able to invest in their lives and help them and show them financial literacy and teach them how to get out of that. But the only way that I have really safety as an investor is to only rent to those who have good credit, have good jobs, haven't had evictions, and are current on their payments. And so I'm going to hesitate to buy properties in these class C- areas. And I don't buy a lot of them there, but I still have the heart and philanthropy that wants to and serve that demographic. I'm going to have to I'm going to buy in class B areas and serve above average tenants who have great incomes and great credit and great jobs. And that's really why I've done so well still, thank God, through this pandemic, because my tenant screening before the pandemic was really tight. And I learned by being burned so many times by making exceptions to be a nice person, that 95% or more of who I rent to, if they don't have a good job currently, they don't have a good job history, they've been evicted and they don't have good credit, it's an automatic no for me. And that's really what protected me. And because I had tenants that even though they might not have been able to pay for a while, their credit's important to them and they got caught up and I was able to work with them. That's going to be a lot harder when eviction moratoriums go longer and people say, I don't know what the government's going to do, so I have to hedge my bets with how I run my operation.
There's a lot of people that are going to be worse off for years after this. They're going to have to down select. They're likely going to go to what I would call a slumlord property because they don't care and they don't fix anything in their C- areas. Because the landlords have been told contracts don't mean anything. So you're going to tighten credit criteria. You're going to raise rents. You're going to raise deposit. And trust me, you made the bed. Now you got to lie in it. Like back to the point my father made, you can do anything you want as long as you're willing to suffer the consequences. And here we go. Right.
Yeah. And I'm still excited to be a landlord though. I think that's just full circle. Like, does this really rock my world as an investor? No, it doesn't, because I kind of had those things already set up. Right. But still, there are some who will take advantage. I'm going to continue to buy. And I'm going to be excited to continue to buy and to provide good housing to these people that need the housing. But I am going to be much more careful and cautious. And I have to get a much better deal on the buy.
Exactly.
So that I can afford any of these blips in the future. So you have to become a picky and patient investor that plays the long game and says, I don't care if I have to pass on 10 at retail. I'm only going to buy the ones that I'm buying so well that my debt is so low that even if I can't fill them and my vacancies go up, I'm going to be okay.
That's exactly where I ended up. This kicked me pretty hard last night, but that's where I ended up this morning. Is I'm going to make lemonade out of lemons.
Yes.
And I just know I was already looking at some pretty good deals. Now I'm even looking at others. And frankly, I expect I'm going to get the opportunity to buy one or two entire portfolios is what I think I'm going to end up being able to do between now and the end of the year. Because some people are just, life happens to all of us. If you're in your 70s and you're going through this and you were thinking about being done anyway, just naturally, this on again, off again, on again, off again thing is like, I'm done, I'm out. So I hopefully will get a chance to buy 1 or 2 entire portfolios, maybe even get seller financing for a complete win-win. So I'm ecstatic about what's coming. It hurts me because I see the bigger picture, but me individually, I'm like, well, I do the work. I got a good network. Let's go do some win-win deals. So I'm pretty excited on that front, but still, it really disappointed me yesterday.
Yeah, it's sad. And I just hope that we come out of it. I think it's going to take a few years to bounce back from this, for a lot of people. And we just need to do our best to keep going every day, be good to those that we do serve, and, make really, really wise investment choices.
Yeah. If you're in the one rental at a time community, this is a time to double down, do your homework, look for the deals. If you are buying tenant occupied, get that extra discount, get that extra security. But yeah, again, you still have a gift of mortgage rates under 4%. Go get that 30-year money. You will be ecstatic in a couple of years because again, the rents are going to go up. And if you have fixed rate debt, when rents go up, it usually all falls to the bottom line. So exciting stuff. So Anna, how can people follow you, be a part of Greater Purpose Capital?
So my website is greaterpurposecapital.com, where you can come out and find out how you can be good and do good with your investment dollars by investing in communities where we really do try to make an impact and a difference in the lives of our residents. And you can follow me on Facebook at Anna, REI Mom Kelly, and the same name for LinkedIn.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor, follow Anna. She is wonderful. And yes, she is even a part of our course, How to Get Started One Rental at a Time. She's talking about how to raise private money. So Anna, thank you for all you do.
You're welcome.